Hello and welcome to the Zylab Insider channel. We're happy to have you join us today. So you already use Zylab, but did you know there's more you can do with it? Maybe there's more efficient ways to get your job done. Maybe there's tips and tricks you weren't aware of. Well, that's what we're going to show you today. I'm Jay Schneider. I'm the Director of Professional Services, but with me is...
Hi guys, it's Brenda Dodd. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Zylab. We're really looking forward to this, and we think that you will all greatly benefit from some of the tips and tricks that you may see and hear today.
Absolutely. So, well, and one of the things we find with people who use our software is that while they're able to leverage a lot of the features to get their job done more efficiently and faster, there might be even better ways or more efficient ways that they could do it, or just things that they never seen. And what I mean by this is that there's a lot you can do before you even looked at your first document. So there's a lot of things that you can do to set up the system so that the very first time you get in to do your review, some of the work's already been done for you and you've gotten a head start. So Brenda, talk about some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. So as most of you are aware, by the time you receive a matter and you've collected your data, you probably already have some general knowledge about what it is that the review is going to be about. But by using some of the techniques that we're going to show you today, you're really going to be able to know the facts sooner. You're going to be able to significantly reduce your review costs. You're going to be able to defend your story, and most importantly, you're going to be able to collaborate more efficiently with your team. This is all going to be done through of our key features that you may already be aware of, but you may not be using. They could be as simple as highlighting key terms through our keyword highlighting feature. It may be auto redaction, so you have information you know from the very beginning that you'd like to redact. You can easily set up auto redaction rules to do that. We're going to show you how to do that today. Other things you could do: identify important or sensitive data. So you know that you may have privileged or potentially privileged documents in your data set. We can show you ways where the system's automatically going to identify them for you, but not only identify them, classify them, and actually automatically assign them to a reviewer so that when that reviewer logs on for the first time to the matter, they already have a set of documents that are available to them and they can begin their review.
And this is what I like about this, Brenda, is that there's so many steps that we often know we're going to do, whether it's I need to do some key search terms, I need to do some redactions, and these are things that before the data is even loaded, need to get done. And so these are some ways that you can set that up so the first time you're looking at the data, it's already been done.
Exactly, Jay. And I do want to point out that the things we're going to talk about and show you are things that any of you can do today. So if you can create search queries, you can create these keyword highlighting, auto redaction, and auto classification rules. Let's start by first looking at the results of the things that were predefined during this matter setup. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Facet dashboard, and if you're not using the facets to analyze your data, you really should be. Imagine logging into your matter for the very first time and having instant access to various facets or buckets of information that would enable your reviewers to jump right in. For example, such as this one here, the concept extraction facet. This facet is actually based on an auto classification rule that was set up to classify documents based on the known issues or the important issues to be addressed by the reviewers for this matter. This was all done during the processing and ingestion of those documents. Now, because of this, as a reviewer, I have instantaneous access to those documents that are related to those issues.
And I like also that there's some facets that'll tell you, say, like the email classification, which emails are just one-to-one communication, which ones may involve key custodians, external versus personal. This can all help you either quickly identify information that might be useful or might not be useful. And I think that's just as important. I also like the potentially sensitive, because often, one of the aspects we do when we're going through this data is there information that's confidential? Is it, PII, social security numbers? Is there something sensitive? And also having that identified ahead of time is a big help. Now, I'll be clear again, all of these steps might be part of your normal process. You get the data, you perform searches, and you go through all these steps. But again, what Brenda's going to show you is how you can set this up so that it's done ahead of time. So Brenda, how would we set this up?
Okay, so primarily all of the settings that we're going to look at today are under the advanced configuration feature here. So I went back to my home screen. I'm going to select configuration. And we'll start out by talking keyword highlighting. By creating keyword highlighting rules, your key search terms, your attorney names, or other key information about your matter will automatically be highlighted in your data set so that your reviewers can instantly see them when they access a document during the review process. Such as this one here. This rule was created to highlight the attorney and the law firm names that may be found in the documents that have been collected and ingested so that the reviewer can quickly determine if the document may be possibly privileged. And when it finds any of these forms of the names, it's going to be highlighted in this nice lime green color here. Another great example would be key terms. So you may have already collected your data based on search terms, but now you want to identify those in the data set here in the Zilab One legal review environment. By doing this, the reviewers will quickly see when they come across the document the key terms or those search terms that have been highlighted for them.
So now, Brenda, one thing I want to think we should make clear here is what this is going to do is highlight the terms if they happen to be in a document, so you'll see them. But this is different from, say, doing the search itself, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Jay. So when you do a regular search, the search results are always highlighted in yellow. These key terms or these keyword highlighting rules, they will always be highlighted in this green so that you can differentiate between the two. And we can take a look at a document and show you exactly what that is going to look like. So I'm going to go back to my home screen here, back to my Facet dashboard, and we're going to focus on the attorney privilege documents or the potentially privileged. So under my potentially sensitive facet here, I'm going to go ahead and go to these attorney privilege. These are documents that were automatically classified. So if I go ahead and take a look at these documents, and you're going to see here that Larry Lawyer is actually highlighted. It was one of our keywords that we had highlighted for potentially privileged. But to your point, Jay, about the different colors, let's go ahead and do a quick search for the word thermometer so that we can show the difference between a highlighted keyword and a search term hit. As you can see in this document, the search hit is in yellow and the keywords are in green.
Okay, so Brenda, so just to be clear, search hits are always in yellow, and then the keyword highlighting is in green. So we're able to identify how it's, okay, that makes sense.
Yep, always yellow, always green. And you'll notice too that this document also has a tag applied to it already. And that was also based on some configurations that we had done before the document started coming in, when we were setting up the matter, saying that any of these documents that have been classified as potentially privileged, go ahead and tag them as potentially privileged as well.
Hey, Brenda, I have a question for you. Can you tell us about that? I see the yellow, I see the green. What's that blue mark there?
Great question. This is an example of a redaction. So this was actually created by our auto redaction rule. And in this specific rule, it was looking for any of the personalized part of an email address. And when the system found that, it automatically redacted that information. Not only did it redact it, but as you can see there, it applied the redaction code or the redaction reason to that redaction as well.
And Brenda, I'm assuming you're going to show us how to do that next, right?
Absolutely. So let's jump back to our home screen and go back to our configurations. Select auto redaction. And as you can see, I already have some set up. Let's go ahead and focus on that personal email address rule that we just had taken a look at. So you can see here, this is the rule. It's actually looking for commonly associated email domains such as Outlook, Hotmail, Gmail, AOL. There's probably a few more in there. It's saying whenever anything that's found that's associated with that, I want it to be redacted. I could even select the color. As you can see here, it was blue. You could change that if you like. Here's where you give those redaction reasons. By selecting the redaction filter here from the list, I can say only redact the first part of that email.
So because our redaction, auto redaction tool is based on a search, usually if you put in a search, whether it's an actual word or term or some other pattern, it will redact that entire thing. But using this redaction filter, it's only going to do everything to the left of the @ sign.
Yes, that's correct. And you'll also notice in the query here, I've used a wildcard. So I didn't even necessarily need to know Brenda ... at Outlook or J at Gmail. I didn't have to know that those emails actually existed in my documents. By using this wildcard, the system automatically knew that anything before that at sign would be found, and based on the redaction filter, it was going to redact that. So these are something that you as a users can quickly and easily set up without even having to know the actual data that's in your matter.
Okay, great. So I show us what else you can do.
We'll just quickly show you a couple of other examples that we had done with auto redaction. Many of you have probably heard Jay and I talking about redaction of social security numbers. We cover this a lot in our trainings, but here's a great example of that. And again, you do not have to know the actual social security number in order to create a rule of this nature. This rule is based on what we call a pattern search or regular expression.
And Brenda, when it comes to that, because again, we're aware that searching for cat and dog can be pretty straightforward, but when it comes to something like this regular expression, it could be a little more complex, especially if you're not familiar. So what are some ways people can get help with that?
Oh, they can definitely reach out directly to you or myself, or they can go through our support portal and request some help. Or our docs.xylab.com is a great resource where they can find a lot of information on various aspects, including how to search. And also our search manual would be available through our help links here in the help menus as well. Just a couple more examples real quick of showing some rules that we created based on that pattern search is employee ID number. I'm sure many of you who are listening commonly have to redact employee ID numbers. This is a great rule to incorporate with any document review. Another one here is credit card numbers, and these are based on some industry standard queries that have been developed. But again, I really want to emphasize the fact that you do not need to know the exact information that needs to be redacted. By using pattern searching or wildcards when creating the queries, you can automatically redact information that you're not even aware of.
Okay, great. So just to recap, at this point, you've shown us how to set up keyword highlighting in our Matter, and we can do this before the data has even been processed if we want. We can, of course, do it after, but the idea here is to get a head start. We can also set up a number of auto redaction rules to automatically redact and assign a reason for why the redaction was placed. But I know you've got more to tell us, so what's next, Brenda?
Sure. Let's take a look at these auto classification rules that we were talking about. So back to my configuration screen, and I'm going to select auto classification here. As you can see, we have a significant list built out for this particular matter. Some may have already been included in your default template. If not, you could always reach out to us and ask us to help you create these, but they're very simple and easy for you to create on your own as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these. One of the ones that I really like, especially if you're collecting emails, and I think a lot of you who are listening, watching today will feel some pain on this. It's this email classification that's looking for spam and newsletters. This is a very simple query that's basically looking for the language in those types of emails, such as the term unsubscribe or opt out, or if you do not wish to receive. When that information is found during the collection of and processing of your documents, it's being classified as a newsletter, or I could say newsletter or spam here. And when that happens, it's going to populate that facet that we looked at earlier. Again, a great rule every one of you should be incorporating, unless you like your reviewers to spend time wasting looking at these types of emails.
And Brenda, what I like about this is, we often are, trying to find what it is we are looking for, looking for that needle in the haystack, looking for those responsive documents. But sometimes it's just as important to quickly identify what you do not care about. And again, being able to open your Matter for the first time and quickly see, hey, these are newsletters, this is spam, this is junk, you can save yourself a lot of time.
Absolutely. Like you said, most people are so focused on what it is that they need to find, and they don't really want to focus on what they don't need to find. But having tools like this and the ability to automatically find this information, imagine the amount of documents that they know they don't have to review. Something else that I wanted to point out here with this rule, we talked about how we could classify these types of documents that are found and put it in to a newsletter or spam facet. And that's what you see here where it says when matches. It's basically, this is the field and we're going to update that field, but because this is a rule that's being implemented on intake only, and you'll see that up here at the top of your screen, that means we can also apply the not responsive tag to the documents as they're being ingested into the matter.
And so, Brenda, that would be similar on the document you showed us earlier that had been tagged potentially privileged.
Exactly.
That was something that had already been caught by this rule and automatic or pre-tagged.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yep. So now I'm going to use this rule to actually create another rule that says, okay, great. We've actually determined that we have these junk emails and they've been tagged as not responsive, but I just want to be sure that they really are, and I need someone to just quickly take a look at them. That lucky person is going to be you, Jay.
Lucky me.
Lucky you. So let's go ahead and show the audience how easy it is to create one of these rules. So I'm going to select the add new rule here by selecting the plus sign. The first step is to give it a name. So I'm going to say junk email review. I'm going to say now that this is a continuous rule because the documents have already come into the system. They've already been classified, right? So it's really, this is something that can happen continuously throughout the review process. So anytime a document is tagged as not responsive, or one that comes into the system, a new one that comes into the system and it's been tagged as not responsive or spam or junk, it's going to automatically populate this as well. This section here, which looks just like our search bar, is where you define the query to capture the document subject to your rule. This is where you're going to identify the documents which will trigger the action. So in this case, I want all documents tagged as not responsive and classified as those newsletters. So go ahead and select the not responsive tag. And then from the fields filter, I'm going to select the email classification field and add newsletters. The below section here, when matches, that's the action that I want it to take on these documents. So in this case, I actually want to assign them to someone for review. And now I'm going to say apply.
And Brenda, what I like about what you're showing this is that, yes, we're giving a practical example of being able to identify newsletters, junk, but I hope everyone in the audience is starting to think of maybe you could build your own, some other logic where, hey, when a tag is applied or a certain field has certain value, you're going to assign it to somebody or apply another tag, and this chain of events that can really help do things you're already doing in a faster way.
Oh, definitely, Jay. I hope all of you are thinking of ways to use auto classification, whether it's to automatically identify privileged or sensitive information or by creating workflows for your reviewers. Also, I want to point out there's so many ways to use auto classification, and that while we've talked a lot about rules that are implemented during the processing of your data, those ones that we refer to as intake rules, however, you absolutely can create rules at any time during or even after your review is complete, such as maybe rules to QC your review. Okay, so hey Jay, let's take a look at the rule that we just created. So now that we're back to my facet dashboard, as you can see this assigned to facet here.
Hey, I see my name there. I have some
There you
documents.
are. Oh, Jay, look at that. You have 6,100 documents that you need to take a look at.
Gee, thanks, Brenda.
Oh, come on now, Jay. It's really not that bad. Let me show you how easily you can knock these out. The first thing I can do is click on your name here on the assigned to facet. What that's going to do is it's going to refresh my dashboard, and then I can take a look at a couple of the other facets to give me an idea of what type of data is in here. So as you can see, I can easily look at the email domains and see them, but also the email from may be a really great indication. And you can see here feedback, the Motley Fool, the power marketing. They all kind of seem to suggest that they're probably newsletters or stuff that I don't necessarily need to see. But let's go ahead and select to view these in the document list view. Again, my document list view, I can quickly see the names of the various emails. I can also see the email from, the email to. Scrolling through these, they really do look like they are, but let's go ahead and just do some sampling to see. I can open up a document, take a look at it, and see if you're reviewing this. It definitely looks like it's some type of newsletter. But if I do a Control F, Jay, I can actually search for some of the words that we used in our query to identify these as newsletters or spam, such as unsubscribe. And as you can see, it was found. It's highlighted here, and I can go directly to that. So I can see this definitely looks like it's a newsletter. And then I can continue to review a few more documents and using that same thing, looking for unsubscribed. So Jay, you could see how quickly you could do some spot checking of these documents and say, yep, I feel confident that the rule was implemented correctly. And now I know that I no longer have 6,100 documents that I need to review.
That is fantastic, especially for me, who has the 61, thousand or 6,100 documents to review. But again, going back to where we sort of started with this, Brenda, you and I work with a lot of people who have been in the business for years or been in the field for years, and they sort of have their playbook because they've developed the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search for key terms, or I'm going to search for junk, or I'm going to search for this whole playbook, and in their heads, they know the 7 steps they're going to do. But here again, we're opening it up, and those steps have already been done. So this
Absolutely.
is a real get ahead.
Absolutely. It's definitely what I refer to as a jump start. You're really jump starting your review process. In a situation like this, now that you've identified these 6,100 emails and you know that they're junk, you could delete them, get them out of your document set. You no longer have to worry about them. Or there's many other ways to tackle them.
All right, so Brenda, so once again to review here. So all these things you showed us. You showed us keyword highlighting, which is a feature that some of our users are already using. Some of them may not be familiar with it. Auto redaction to, again, prevent yourself that pain of manually redacting when you know what it is you're looking for, such as email addresses or other keywords. And then the power of auto classification. And I think with all the things you've shown us today, these are all things that if you didn't automate it, you would have to do these steps anyways. And it might be the first thing you do is I'm going to spend some time, breaking this down, but you can set all these up ahead of time.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, imagine the more efficient your review team is going to become. Imagine how much more work you could possibly be doing, Jay, since you don't have to be reviewing those 6,100 emails.
Well, yes, this is true, but a truth in that is, yes, I have still plenty of work to do, but I can get ahead to get to maybe the more meaningful work. I mean, let's be real. That I don't enjoy spending all my time looking for junk emails, but I want to get to that next stage. But if we spend so much time doing these basic steps, it helps us get ahead to the more meaningful, maybe the thoughtful work where I really need to be, making better decisions or using my human brain. But let's go ahead and let the technology automate these steps for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely going to help you kind of build out the issues and facts fast. You're going to be able to start finding your answers so much quicker. Let the system slice and dice that data for you.
So I think with what we've talked about today, I mean, these are some great practical examples that might apply to many people who are watching today. But there could be other examples that you can create. There's really, so many ways you can use, auto classification or even tie it into your greater workflow. And one of the things is, Brenda, you and I have helped our clients with a number of these, but I love it when I hear how a customer is using it in a way that I didn't think of. And that's really exciting to me. So absolutely, if you're out there and you have come up with some great ideas, please share it with Brenda and myself, because we love to hear how you're able to use these pieces in ways that maybe we didn't imagine.
Absolutely. We love hearing stories like that. We'd love to be able to share it with the rest of our clients and customers.
And as a reminder, there's always more ways to get help, whether it's in the application, through the help features, through our online documentation, some great videos, and where else can we go, Brenda?
So, Jay, absolutely. They can learn more at docs.xylab.com, where they're going to find a wealth of information, like you said, whether it's some self-help videos or our Getting Started guide.
All right. Well, fantastic. Well, we appreciate everyone joining us for this episode of the Xylab Insider channel. We look forward to sharing more tips and tricks and insider information in our next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.